Minnesota Vikings eyeing raw, versatile talent. Zable could be the answer to offensive line issues. After a season in which the Minnesota Vikings exceeded expectations, but stumbled in the playoffs against the Los Angeles Rams, one thing is clear. The offensive line needs urgent reinforcements. Quarterback Sam Darnold spent more time evading sacks than reading defenses, being sacked 48 times in the regular season and 9 more in the heartbreaking wildcard loss. The problem is clear, and the solution may lie where few are looking, in North Dakota. According to Alec Lewis of The Athletic, the Vikings have one name on their radar for the 2025 draft. Zable, a player who may not have the pedigree of a major FBS school, but has plenty of talent and the versatility that Minnesota so desperately needs. Zable, an FCS diamond who could shine in the NFL. Zable comes from North Dakota State, an FCS, NCAA Division I subdivision, program that has established itself as a true factory of raw talent. Just think of Carson Wentz and Trey Lance. Despite his modest background, Zable is already being considered a potential first-round pick, which is not common for players outside of the FBS. Minnesota, which holds the 24th overall pick, could surprise and bank on its versatility. What makes Zable so valuable? Two-time national champion with North Dakota State. Absolute starter for the last 2 years, playing different positions each season. He was right tackle in 2023 and left tackle in 2024. Projected as an interior offensive lineman IOL. In the NFL, being able to play guard, center, and even tackle. That versatility is gold for teams with multiple offensive line issues, like the Vikings. Flexibility is key to selection. The modern NFL values players who can play more than one position, especially on units like the OL, where injuries and adjustments are constant. The Vikings roster, which has been plagued by injuries and inconsistent performance, would benefit immensely from a player like Zable. Additionally, the departure of Cam Robinson, a recent mainstay on the line, creates a clear hole at the left tackle position. While Zable isn't projected as a primary tackle at the pro level, his experience as an LT in 2024 could give Kevin O'Connell more tactical options and immediate depth. Limited picks, strategic decisions. Minnesota enters this draft with limited resources due to recent market moves, such as the trade for J.J. McCarthy and trades to bolster the defense. This makes every choice more valuable, and every prospect a bet that needs to pay off soon. Zable, in this context, offers the best of both worlds: development potential, immediate impact on an offensive line in desperate need of stability. Will the Vikings dare? It's not common to see an FCS player get picked in the first round, but Zable is far from common. He is big, smart, technical, and resilient. His trajectory, from an unknown kid in the interior of the USA to a starter in 2 national titles, is worthy of a movie. And Minnesota may be about to take a chance on that scenario. If the Vikings do indeed pull the trigger and select Zable, it won't just be because of a need on the offensive line. It could be because they believe that, even coming from a smaller program, he can be a pillar of the offensive rebuild led by McCarthy. Fans may turn up their noses at first, expecting a more famous name. But as we've seen so many times in the NFL, sometimes real talent is hidden where few look. A brilliant plan in motion? Kirk Cousins could complete the NFL's biggest silent checkmate. When the Atlanta Falcons announced the signing of Kirk Cousins for $180 million in March, it seemed like the end of an era for the Minnesota Vikings. The quarterback who led the team for 6 up-and-down seasons was leaving to start a new chapter in Atlanta. And the Vikings, in turn, were moving on to the future, with J.J. McCarthy leading a new project. But what if that's not exactly it? What if the apparent split between Cousins and Minnesota is just Act 1 of an ingenious plan, put together behind the scenes with surgical precision? The clause, the contract, and the quiet chaos in Atlanta. At first, it all seemed simple. Cousins accepted a fortune from the Falcons, and the team, seeking stability after years of inconsistency under center, took a big chance on the veteran. But it only took a few weeks for the scenario to change dramatically. Atlanta used its first-round pick in the 2024 draft to select Michael Penix Jr., one of the most promising quarterbacks in the class. The move was confusing, to say the least. Why pay a veteran quarterback nearly $50 million per season, only to bring in a rookie so soon? Cousins was not happy, and rightly so. The narrative went from franchise QB to expensive bridge to the future in the blink of an eye. Now, reports indicate that Cousins is expected to skip voluntary workouts in the spring. His relationship with the Falcons is strained, to say the least. And to make matters worse or better, depending on your perspective, the quarterback has a no-trade clause, which gives him complete control over his immediate future. What if a return was already in the cards? Amidst all this turmoil, an idea has emerged that once seemed implausible, but now it starts to make sense. Cousins could, indeed, return to the Vikings, but this time as a backup to J.J. McCarthy. The theory, floated by Adam Schefter, isn't just provocative, it's mathematically brilliant. Here's the reasoning. The Vikings let Cousins walk in free agency. In exchange, they secured a compensatory third-round pick in the 2025 draft, number 97. If the disgruntled Falcons decide to release Cousins now or after the draft, his market value will be depressed, especially if teams like the Browns draft a quarterback. Minnesota could then re-sign him for a veteran's minimum salary, about $1.25 million, while Atlanta would still be paying him the bulk of his original contract. The result? The Vikings would keep McCarthy as their starter, but they'd get one of the league's most experienced backups, already well-versed in Kevin O'Connell's offensive system, and all at minimal cost. Cousins as a mentor? Or a quiet safety? It's not just about the numbers. Cousins knows the Vikings' system like few others. He's been coached by O'Connell. He's thrown to Jefferson, Addison, and company. His presence in the locker room would be a stabilizing factor for a rookie like McCarthy, who, despite his talent, still needs to adapt to the pace of the NFL. Plus, the NFL is unpredictable. McCarthy could need time. He could get hurt. And in a scenario like that, having Cousins ready to go could be the difference between a lost season and a competitive campaign. Cleveland in the mix, but time is on Minnesota's side. Of course, the Cleveland Browns are still a strong contender, especially if they give up Deshaun Watson or face new problems at the position. But it all depends on the draft. If the Browns pick a quarterback in the early rounds, the Vikings have a wide-open path. And the closer this decision drags on until summer, the smaller the market for Cousins will be, and the greater Minnesota's bargaining power will be. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the silent architect. If this plan comes to fruition, Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah will have executed one of the smartest NFL moves in recent years. He leaves with a third-round pick. He saves millions in cap space. He bolsters the present with J.J. McCarthy. And he brings back a veteran QB as life insurance, all for next to nothing. That would be a masterful move worthy of high-level chess. Cousins may be gone from Minnesota, but is he really gone? On paper, Kirk Cousins is a former Vikings quarterback. But the signs are there. The door may never have really been closed. Maybe, and just maybe, this is all part of a larger plan, in which goodbye was just a see you later. If Cousins does return to the purple and gold, it won't be as a savior or a central figure. It will be like the final trump card for a team that is planning every move with pinpoint precision, and that refuses to leave any detail to chance. Kevin O'Connell takes center stage in the Aaron Rodgers saga and makes the Vikings his own legacy. In 2008, Kevin O'Connell had a brief moment in the NFL spotlight. While the then-young quarterback was being drafted in the third round by the New England Patriots, the focus of the ESPN broadcast was, ironically, on another name, Aaron Rodgers. Ted Thompson, then general manager of the Green Bay Packers, was talking to host Trey Wingo about the future of the franchise. The focus of the conversation? The possibility of Brett Favre retiring, paving the way for Rodgers to take over as the starter. Thompson's words echoed, "Aaron is our quarterback from now on." That moment, lost to many in the archives of time, carries a curious symbolism. Decades later, Kevin O'Connell returns to the scene, no longer as a player, but as the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and once again, Aaron Rodgers is in the story. But now, O'Connell is the one who dictates the narrative. Rodgers, Vikings, and a cycle that insists on repeating itself. The parallels are almost cinematic. In 2023, the Packers finally ended the Rodgers era, trading the quarterback to the New York Jets and allowing Jordan Love to take over in Green Bay. But Rodgers' debut in New York lasted a single possession, A ruptured Achilles tendon took him off the field and sent the Jets into another frustrating year, 5-12. Now, Rodgers wants more than just a physical rehabilitation. He wants to close the cycle with an epic narrative, to wear the Vikings jersey, the same team that Favre chose after his departure from Green Bay, and to top it all off, take over the roster built around the young J.J. McCarthy. But there's one problem. Kevin O'Connell is no longer willing to be a supporting actor in another star story. From former quarterback to NFL's most respected offensive mind, Kevin O'Connell was never the quarterback many predicted. Despite his ideal size, 6 feet 5 inches, 230 pounds, mobility and respectable arm, he had a low-key career as a player. But off the field, his rise has been meteoric. Since taking over the Vikings, O'Connell has proven to be a true offensive engineer. With him in charge, Kirk Cousins reached his peak, Joshua Dobbs became the pastronaut, and even Sam Darnold has once again been seen as a franchise quarterback. More than developing athletes, O'Connell builds winning contexts. And that's why the coach finds himself faced with a delicate dilemma. Should he bring in a future Hall of Famer to lead his team or continue investing in the development of McCarthy, the rookie in whom he has placed his long-term vision? Between legend and future, O'Connell chooses to bet on himself. During the NFL owners' meetings in Florida, Kevin O'Connell publicly confirmed what had already been speculated behind the scenes. Aaron Rodgers had contacted the Vikings seeking an opportunity. But O'Connell was direct, albeit diplomatic. He said he respected Rodgers, with whom he has had a personal relationship since their playing days, but reaffirmed his commitment to McCarthy. Two things can be true at the same time, O'Connell said. And with that sentence, he made it clear. Yes, he values Rodgers, but he is not willing to sacrifice his vision to revive a quarterback drama. Rodgers, who is also flirting with the Steelers, seems inclined to play in Minnesota. But the interest is not mutual, not because Rodgers lacks talent, but because O'Connell is determined to lead his own story. The cycle is complete, but this time with O'Connell at the center. There's an almost poetic irony in the fact that in 2008, Aaron Rodgers overshadowed O'Connell on the draft broadcast. While Rodgers was the headline for the Packers' future, O'Connell was introduced to the world by Mel Kiper and Ron Jaworski, who extolled his qualities, but acknowledged that he wasn't the star of the show. Today, the roles have reversed. Rodgers is the veteran looking for his final act. O'Connell, the young coach, is the architect of the new cycle. And while Rodgers has 4 MVP awards and a Super Bowl ring, it's O'Connell who has the power to decide. At 38, he wants more than just winning games. He wants to create a legacy, develop a quarterback, build the Vikings from scratch to the top. He may have been released as a player in 2009, but now, in 2025, he is the one who decides who makes the team and who doesn't. The present belongs to McCarthy, and the future to O'Connell. In rejecting the temptation to take a shortcut with Rodgers, Kevin O'Connell is putting himself first for the first time. Not as an emotional gamble, but as a coach who trusts his own vision of the game. Rodgers may still be trying to write an epic final chapter, but O'Connell, he's just beginning the book. Tyreek Hill to the Vikings? Trade rumors are gaining momentum and could shake up the 2025 NFL Draft. The NFL offseason always has its ups and downs, but when the name of Tyreek Hill, one of the league's most explosive receivers, starts to circulate in trade rumors, the buzz takes on a new dimension. This time, the Miami Dolphins star's possible destination would be the Minnesota Vikings, in a bold move that could completely transform the team's offensive scenario. It all started with cryptic tweets from Hill, which reignited speculation about his future in Miami. Was it just a typical offseason provocation, or is there, in fact, a veiled dissatisfaction behind the lines? Regardless of the answer, the rumors are gaining momentum, and the Minnesota Vikings appear to be the main interested party in closing the deal. Possible trade scenario: what's on the table? According to sources close to the league, a proposal is being considered between the two franchises. The terms would be: Miami Dolphins would receive third-round pick in the 2025 draft. Minnesota Vikings would receive Tyreek Hill plus fifth-round pick in the 2025 draft. While it may not seem like a big deal at first glance, the real value lies in what each team wants to build or rebuild for the future. Why Miami might let go of its star. Tyreek Hill, now 31, is still one of the most dangerous players with the ball in his hands. However, his speed-based game has felt the effects of time. Last season showed clear signs of this: a slight drop in performance, less explosions in the open field, and difficulties in chemistry with quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Mike McDaniel's fast and creative offense relies on precision and synchrony. And when that chemistry starts to fail, coupled with the high cost of keeping a veteran star, the front office starts to think about the future. With Jalen Waddle emerging as a potential new pillar of the passing attack, the franchise may decide to pass the baton and capitalize, while Hill is still on the market. Plus, there's the human factor. Hill wants to compete. He wants to win now. And with the Dolphins facing a transitional phase, Miami may no longer be the ideal stage for his final acts in the NFL. Vikings, building an elite offense. For the Vikings, it's a different story. The team is betting everything on a new era led by J.J. McCarthy, a promising rookie who arrives with high expectations, but also with the pressure to deliver quickly. Having Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the NFL, would already be a great support for the young quarterback. But adding Tyreek Hill to the roster? That changes the game completely. Imagine an offensive trio with Jefferson, Hill, and Jordan Addison. 3 different styles, 3 very dangerous weapons, and a field that opens up in every direction for McCarthy. The presence of Hill, who would no longer have to carry the burden of being the WR1 alone, could be invigorating for his career and deadly for opposing defenses. Plus, the mere arrival of a name like Hill sends a clear message. The Vikings want to win now. What to expect? If this trade does happen, it could be one of the biggest milestones of the offseason. Miami would gain draft capital and freedom to renew. The Vikings, in turn, would give McCarthy the best possible environment to grow, with elite weapons around him from the first snap. For now, everything remains in the realm of speculation. But as we all know, in the NFL, where there's smoke, there's often fire. And that fire could be about to ignite the trade market in the days leading up to the 2025 draft.